Now the self is that center of consciousness, but that's just one level. The next level is then the infinite, which is actually the foundation of consciousness. So it's not the self as we talk about, if you talk about Zen Buddhism, when they talk about the self or the not self with a capital S, he's still talking about almost like the perfected lens that infinite can be expressed through. So where meditation comes in, and where I believe, and I'm assuming because I've read most of his work and I just didn't see it, where I feel he has stopped is to go, okay, well, meditation is the practice of concentration. And concentration is the ability to focus the mind so intently that you can let go of all the passing thoughts and noise that's happening around you, whether it's internal or external. So that, in a sense, is ego affirming, right? We first strengthening, in a sense, the ability to focus, or my ability to focus, which is a little bit of ego affirming. It's creating a container or a vessel that is going to be able to contain this infinite experience, but it can't contain it. It usually cracks under the pressure. Now, if it cracks in a way that becomes so chaotic, or we become so dysfunctional, a pathology. That's only because it hasn't been accepted, that the experience has become so far out of the person's ability to be with it, that now you would have to refer to a psychiatrist. But hopefully, if you have enough capacity, you would be able to guide that person back to their center, recognizing that they have now been sucked into the illusion of that image. So Jung calls that image the archetype. So that person would be kind of possessed by the archetype. And we've all experienced some form of that. That kind of possession by the archetype is sexual desire, where you get so hungry you become moody, or where you get so tired that you just can't think straight. All these are archetypes. All these are unconscious urges. But that isn't who you are. And in order to have this awakening of who you are, what is your true identity, we must let go of the ego and our construct and our world and become conscious of this underlying ground of being. But that can't happen. I mean, well, it can happen in an instant, and it can be experienced as psychosis. It can be experienced in an instant as enlightenment. But then there's the integration of that experience that must happen afterwards. It's as if you went to that absolute ground of being, but then you come back and you have to now interact with the world. And you would now have these two seemingly polar opposite experiences. And how do you live in the world after that? So something like a near-death experience, where someone, travels down the tunnel of light, gets to the other side, and then comes back, or whether you have an out-of-body experience, these experiences can take years and years to integrate, because our cultural structure or construct doesn't have a place for it, really. It doesn't recognize the spiritual dimension of consciousness as the fundamental reality. And so that's where Jung, or his work, is so useful. The same as A.H. Almas, which is something, if you do level 2, you will read about. This is about, if you find yourself like tied up in knots, sometimes it's not possible to just, sit and meditate. You need to, use a wire cutters to start to remove pieces of this web that you found yourself caught in. I saw what was a Greenpeace guy. He was trying to save the seal. There was a whole bunch of seals, and some of them swam into fish nets. And so he had to catch them while the seal tried to bite him, and he had to remove the sting from the seal, and then the seal was set free. So if you think about meditation is if you're able to become absolutely still and self-reflect on what is the observer. It's as if that net would ultimately just dissolve. It would allow you would be able to let go of it. It would disappear. You would become so relaxed that you'd slip out of it naturally. But if you fight against it, then your meditation is not strong enough to do that yet. So you can't do that meditation. Then you need help. And that help looks like dream interpretation. Oh, this means this. And so there's a little crumb that you eat and you go, oh, you go deeper. And then this leads to that. And then you start to actually engage without the therapist, with your own dream, with your own unconscious. You don't need the interpreter now. And so you start having that relationship with that dimension of your consciousness yourself. And as you go deeper, you realize that, oh, actually, your practice of meditation is that relationship. It's just so deep that it seems unreachable, or it seemed unreachable back then. And to do that. And you might find, well, if you go off to the bar, the first chance you get, because things are just too tough, then you don't have it. Then you need help. Then you need more reminding. So the analyst in the beginning, or the guru in the beginning, is that for you. It's the helper. It's the rungs on the ladder. Well, I can't jump 10 feet in the air and land on, I need a ladder. I need little steps to get me there. But once you let go of the step below, and you find out, the ladder, you're done with the steps. You're done with the ladder. You don't need the rungs. If you can't let go of the rung below, you can't get the rung above. So all these things, all these books, all these methodologies, all these theories, they're all those kind of rungs. And some of them are different people's rungs. Someone says, I can't step that high. So they create different theories in between. For them, that's their life. And for you, you go, oh, that was helpful, but now you climb onto something else. All meditation techniques are generally also like that. You have one technique and then you let go of that technique because you recognize that there's something more subtle. And as you go deeper, you have to let go of the technique because the technique had nothing to do with anything other than just to teach you a skill, to concentrate, to be focused.